Okay, good morning and welcome to Just Daf It. Daf Yomi here. We're learning Yevamos, Daf Kuf, number 100, the 100th Daf in Yevamos. It's really a special occasion. We've made 100 Dafim in Yevamos, probably the hardest Masech in all of Shas. So we are 5/6 of the way done. It's a great, monumentous occasion. Right, with that, 100 out of 120 daf, 5/6 of the way through the hardest Masechta in Shas. Is that amazing?
Well, I'm not sure Yevamos is the hardest second shots.
What is your opinion, right, Witto?
Me'ila.
Me'ila. Right, Witto claims the hardest Masechta in Shas, Masechta Me'ila. I actually did learn Me'ila. The problem is there's not a good parish. There's not a good parish.
There's no parish and
There's no good parish. There's not a good parish over there. But if we're already putting those types of things, then I have to say Shkolim might be harder because it's Yerushalmi and somehow I'm in Daf Yomi. I'm not sure why Shkolim is part of Daf Yomi. It remains a mystery to me. Anyway, today we're going to be starting at the bottom of Sadi Tanamad Bees. We're going to be doing two daf today because I missed yesterday. Today we'll be discussing Truma, which relates to the Mishnah Yomi cycle. We'll just start Maseches Truma, so we're going to be tying that in today, talking about giving out Truma. Then we're going to have a Mishnah at the bottom of Kuf Manal. We're going to talk about another child. We don't know who the father is. What do you do? It's kind of a problem. You don't know who your father is. Problem halachically. All right, let's get started. About 6-7 lines from the bottom of Sadi Tamid Beis. Tanar Rabbanan Asari and Chol Kalem Truma Beis Agranos. 10 people, even though technically they or their family have a right to Truma, you don't give it out to them in the Beis Agranos and the granary. These people are not considered B'nai Deya. They don't have the proper intellect. Tumtum androgynous. Tumtum has no genitals. Androgynous has both. Va'evid va'isha va'arel. An Evid Knaini and Isha, an Arel and a Tameh. Arel, someone doesn't have a Mila. We're going to see a Dafka means someone Meso Echav Machmas Mila. He's an Ones, he can't have a Mila. Based on that, we're going to say Echresh and even Ben Sion. Why Dafka, even Tosus will be mode over here, that the Arel, even though Tosus said in Perika Arel, the Arel is Mashumba the Arelus, here Tosus would agree that we're talking about, like the Gemara says, Rova Onse, it's talking about an Ones. We're going to see why you can't give it to them in Imad Ben Sion, but I'm going to explain the simple explanation based on the article over here. Imad Ben Sion, I'll give another shot. Tameh is someone who's Tameh. What type of tumah doesn't say. But no say Isha Sheina Oganislo, if he's married as a Kohen, he's married to a woman he's forbidden to marry, married to Gerusha, things like that. He has to get divorced. You can't give him Truma, it's a Knas, we'll see. Even though you can't directly give it to these people, you could send it delivery. You could do a mishloach. You could send a delivery to their house. Chutz mitame, because technically, all these people have a right to have truma. Chutz mitame v'nos isha, and again it's low, except for someone who's tame and he's married to someone who's not supposed to marry to. So the Gemara investigates all these 10 people. They don't have proper intellect. Cherish is deaf mute, a shota, someone, psychiatric problems, a katan. He's not 13 years old. He doesn't have the proper intellect. So Rashi says, "There's elusive the truma lechalak lahem begoren lein kol." He says the reason you can't give it, the Gemara says b'nei deya lav b'nei deya, because it's embarrassing to the truma. You're mavaza the truma, you disgrace the truma to give it to people that are not significant people in front of everybody. Interesting pshat Rashi says. I'd like to offer Durham Shani with Ben Sion. Tontem and Androgynous Nami, why don't you give it to them? These people are their own type of breed. They're not men, not women. It's interesting because the Gemara says that only androgynous is a period of Ifneatma. As an opinion, that's a period of Ifneatma. Most opinion holds he's a Zachar. So again, Rashi gives his classical explanation. Heavy is elusive the Kodshim. You're debasing, disgracing Kodshim. Truma is a form of Kodesh. Eved Nami, Dilma Asi, Lasugim, Truma, Yosin. Eved you can't give because there are certain places, if you see him getting Truma, you might be mala him to be a kosher Kohen. And that's a problem. He's not a Kohen for a lot of things. Arel Vitame, Mishum de Meisi and Aral and Tameh because they're disgusting. Again, according to Rashi's line of reasoning, it would be a disgrace to give them truma. I mean, besides the fact that an Aral and Tameh can't eat truma, it's usher for them to eat truma. Knows Isha and again it's lo Mishum Knasa. It's a knas because he's being married, he's remaining married. This one he's not allowed to be married to. Elisha, what's the reason you can't do a woman? The wife of a Kohen, right? She's allowed to eat truma. My time low. Pligi bar Rav Papa Rav Hun Bar Yoshua is machlok Rav Papa and Rav Hun Bar Yoshua. Chadamar Mishum Grusha. Once they were concerned that maybe actually she's not the wife of a Kohen, she got divorced, and at which case her entitlement to eat truma stops. V'chadamar Mishum Yuchad. And some say the problem is because a woman in a granary, sometimes the granary is in a secluded place in the fields where they gather the grain and the wheat after they cut it down. So there's a yichud, you give it to women. So yichud, the man secludes with a woman, might lead to something aser. My benayu, besides the fact that yichud is aser, my benayu, what's the practical difference in these two reasons? Benayu beidari the makar of lamasa. Let's say the granary is close to a city, it's not far away in the field. Lo shchichi bo'inshi. A lot of people are not there, so the problem with yichud, but it's close to the city. People, if she was really divorced, they'd hear about it. Inami the merchi or merchak, or the granary is far away, in which case, or she might be a grusha. But there's a lot of people there. It's a very popular granary, so therefore there's no problem with yichud. All these people, you send them to their house to make delivery. You sell them to an arel, even though technically you can't eat the truma. He can't eat. His family could eat it. In my time, mishum de onis, because he's an onus. He's an onus. Right? And Rashi says, because we're talking about an Arel whose brothers died because he had two brothers who had a bris milah, and the blood didn't clot right, and they died, so he couldn't have a milah because Sakanas Afashos, he's an onus, so therefore you're able to send it to his house, even though technically you're not supposed to give it to him. Tame Nami, how honest, Tame, if someone's become Tame, we're not sure what Tuma it's talking about. Let's say it's talking about a Zav, a Metzora, Tame Mace, all of these tumas, he's also honest. When high enough, it shouldn't say high low enough, and shouldn't say an Arel is a big onus, nothing you can do about it. A Tameh, he could have been more careful not to come in tumas, therefore he doesn't get the right to send it to his house. You don't give it to an Isha and an Ebed. And in a place where you do give it to them, you give it to the woman first. And you get rid of her first. My comment, what does it mean to say? We just said before, an Isha you don't give in the granary. No, it's not about Truma, it's not about Meiser Ani. Meiser Ani also can give in to women. Notice in the Isha Tchila, you give it to the woman first, before the men. My time is Shum Zilusa, because it's degrading or debasing to a woman and to have her wait around, right? If she waits around, some men are going to look at her, they're going to stare at her. She's going to be stared upon, and she's going to be devalued in people's eyes. When men and women come for judgment, they wanted to adjudicate their cases, Kamai, in front of me. I would judge the man's case. I mean, the Chayav Mitzvah, he's Chayav Mitzvah, so he has to go back to learning Torah. Right? I'm taking his time, his precious time. Given the Shemana Laha, the Sharina Laha, once I just heard this, that worry about the Zilusa, the embarrassment of a woman, Sharina Tigra, this of Reisha, I adjudicated the case of the woman first. My time, Mishum Zilusa, caused degrading for her to wait around. Higdilu Ataruvos. So this previous Mishnah says that if they grew up, right, one is Kohen and one is an Eved, we don't know who is who. Shichru, they're supposed to be, if the Mishnah is, if they're Meshachar each other, Ibayi in, Ibayi lo, Bayi lo. Sounds like if they want to, they can. If they don't want to, they don't have to. Can't get married. Both of these people, they're suffix, whether they're Kohen, suffix, and Eved, right? So if you're a Kohen, you can't marry the Shifcha. If you're an Eved, you can't marry a Bas Yisrael. So, right, Pasuk says, Osi Akdesha, Osi Kodosh, and Dvarim, Chav Gimel. So, right, we had a machlokas in Chagiga. Also, I think in this Masechta, Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel mentions this in numerous places in Shas. Beis Hillel says, whatever, he's Oved Rabo one day, and Oved himself another day, and Beis Hillel says, no, he can't marry if a slave has one master that's he was a shutta, two children own an Eved, and one shutta freed him, so now he's half free, half Eved, so he can't marry anybody. So therefore, Beis Shammai And we still agree to Beit Shammai that we have to free him. So based on that, we have to free him. So the Mishnah really meant to say is that we actually force him, and they must free each other in order that he should be able to get married. So the Gemara says we put on the chumras of the Kohen and the chumras of Yisrael. If we're not sure if the son is a Kohen or Yisrael, this is an additional phrase. What extra teaching is it's coming to teach? Amar Rav Papa leminchasam, nikmeses kemincha Yisrael and necheles keminchas kohanim. Right? There's a difference between the korban mincha, voluntary korban mincha. You're allowed to bring a nadava. You're allowed to bring. You want to donate something to the major. Korban mincha, the mizbeach, some flour. So when you bring, Yisrael brings a mincha. So they do kmitza. They take off 3 fingers full. I guess these 3 fingers. The Kohen takes it. He offers that the kmitza on the mizbeach, and the rest is mutter for the other kohanim to eat. They bake it. They eat the flour. They eat some bread or matzahs. But if a Kohen is the one who donates, it's all burnt on the mizbeach. There's no shirayim. So what do you do if it's a mincha brought by the Safek Kohen, Safek Yisrael? So you do kmitza, right? And it's burned on the mizbeach. But you can't be eaten by the Kohanim because it might be Yisrael, because it might be a Kohen's. It might be a Kohen. The Kohen's is kulol mizbeach. Hakesa. A Kohen's karav ba'atzma. The Kohen's, the 3 fingers full is taken off and it's burnt to the mizbeach. Ashirayim karav ma'atzman, and the rest of the karav mincha is also burned in the mizbeach. So where it says a problem, we learn in the Gemara in Menachos that if you take part of it, if you separate part of something for a korban, the rest of it you can't burn on the mizbeach as a korban. So how could it be? Amar Rav Yehuda Breder Rav Shimon Pazdi the matzikulu shum eitzim. No, the kmitza is for the shem kmitza, and the rest of it you do just for firewood to keep the fire going. The Isser is only to do it when you intend to do it at a korban for Hashem. You can do it to keep the fire going. It makes it called Rabbi Lezer. Don't have this hat there. The Gemara said, David like Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Shimon. He goes like Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Shimon. The son of Rabbi Shimon. Omer Akom is Karav La'atzma Shirayim Esfazon Al Beis Hadeshen. He says when it comes to a mincha schote, right? There's a mincha, a voluntary mincha you can bring. You're in the mood to give a mincha to and then also when someone who sins, right? Sometimes you're a very poor person and you can't afford to bring for a chata, so you can't bring an animal, or you can't bring a bird. You bring a korban mincha. It says in the beginning of Sefer Vayikra. So mincha schote, that has different dinim, that has different halachos. So what do you do with that? Shimon says that kometz karav la'atzma v'shirayim is pashon beis hadesha. Shimon says that the kometz is burnt on the mizbeach, and you throw the rest of it al beis hadesha. Beis hadesha is where they gather the ashes of the karbanos. The rabbanon who say that we don't do this, we don't put the rest of on the beis hadesha. That's only by minchas chodesh shel kohanim, the bas hakrovihi. Right, it's supposed to be nikrav. Aval hacha afilu rabbanon modu. But here, when it comes to a minchas nedava, not a minchas chote, so even the rabbanon will be moda in this case. That if you don't hold like Rabbi Lezer, that you can do it l'shem eitzim. At least you can you can sprinkle the rest of the flour on the beis hadeshin, on the place where you put the ashes, and that way you can be able to all your sveikos. The Mishnah says mishalo hashasach arbayla shlosha chadashim. Someone who didn't wait, she was married to a man. And she didn't wait 3 months. The Mishnah said earlier, we have to wait 3 months so that we know who the child is from, which father it's from. She didn't wait 3 months. She got married. Venices Vialda, they had a child after 7 months, so we're not sure if it's a child from the second husband or it's a 9-month child from the first husband. We don't know who it is. Right? If this woman, she had children, other sons, from the original husband and from the second husband. I mean, these brothers shared a father and a mother. And this guy, the Suffolk, we don't know who his father is. He dies without children. So his wife falls to Yibum, so they can't, both sets of brothers can't do Yibum over here, because if it's really their brother, they could do Yibum technically, but it might not be their brother, and then it might be they share, it's Achim min Ha'im, because all these brothers share a mother, and the mitzvah of Yibum only applies to Achim and Av, paternal brothers, not maternal brothers. So it's a Safek Karesh, so you can't do Chalis, you have to do Chalis and not Yibum. Similarly, if he remains alive, but his brothers, either from the first father or from the second father, share the mother, they they die without children. So he can't take the wife and Yibam, he has to do Chalitza because of the Safek Karis. Top of Kufam would be is Ayulo Achim and Arishim Achim and Asheni Shlomo Osai. Let's say he has brothers from the first father and the second father, but not from that mother, not from the common mother. So therefore, there's no shaila, there's no problem of marrying your maternal brother. Who choletz miyabim behem echad choletz miyabim. He could either choose do chalitza or he could do yibam, because if it's really his brother, it's really his brother. And if it's not his brother, it's not related to him. Behem echad choletz miyabim, and if he were to die, first one of the brothers had to do chalitza, and then you can do yibam. We'll see why in the Gemara. Haya echad Yisrael ve'echad Kohen. Let's say one of the fathers. We're not sure who the father is. One was a Yisrael, one was a Kohen. No, Isha Ruya la Kohen. He's a Safek Kohen, so he has to marry. He can't marry a Grusha. Ve'ein metamil amesim. He can't be metamil amesim. He's a Safek Kohen, right? It's Safek Darais of the Chumra. He can't be metamil amesim. Nitma in a Safek Sarboim. Again, if he does metamil amesim, you can't give him lashes. You can't give him malchus because Safek nefashos lahakil and Safek onshin lahakil. Ein ochel b'truma ve'ein yomachal ein misham karen v'chomer. He's not a truma because he might not be a Kohen. If he does, he is not responsible to pay back the person who's the Kohen whose truma he ate, because motzi mecharel arayu. When it comes to money, you have to prove that he's not a Kohen. Cholik ala goren, he's a Safek. Cholik ala goren, he can't go to Goren and collect because the Safek Yisrael. Mocher truma v'adamim shalo. If he has truma in his possession, he can't eat it, but he could sell it, and the money belongs to him. The money belongs to him. He can't go to the base of Mikdash and eat karbanos. We know some laws are kachim. They also don't give him kachim, meaning people are not supposed to give him kachim because he's not allowed to eat kachim because he might not be a kohen. If somehow he got in possession of kachim, you can't take it away because the mammon remains to him. Technically, he's not allowed to eat it, but you can't take it out of his hands. If he has an animal that he shechs, he doesn't have to give these matnos kahuna because he might be a kohen himself. Right? The zroa is the foreleg, lechayim, cheekbones, vakeba, part of the stomach. If he has a firstborn animal, right, he might be a kohen. He doesn't have to give a bechor to another kohen. So therefore, but he might be Yisrael, so he can't eat it. So therefore, he waits till he gets a mum, and then he grazes. He lets it graze until it's a mum kavua, and then he can be poded. He can redeem it and eat it. And also of Chumrei Kohanim and Chumrei Yisrael, and this comes to include another Chumrah, we'll see, is Safek Kohen, Safek Yisrael. Hayishneim Kohanim, if both of the fathers, we're not sure who the father is, they are both Kohanim, who own an Aleim, they own an Alav, he is regarded as an onin for them, and they are regarded as onin for him if he were to die. Onin Midoraisa just means you can't eat Meiser Sheni and you can't eat Kachim. With Rabbanan, it means that you don't do the mitzvahs. Who ain't on matami lahem, ain't on matami lo. If they were to die, he can't matami himself because it might not be his father, right? You can matami yourself, you're a Kohen, you can matami your Zayin Krovim, it might not be his father. And similarly, they can't be matami for him because it might not be his son. Who ain't no Yorish Hosan of him Yorshin also, he doesn't inherit them. Meaning, let's say he has other brothers, he doesn't get the Yerusha with them. Because the other brothers can say, prove to me that you're the brother. Avalheim Yorshin also. The fathers, two fathers, they do inherit him if he has no descendants, because they split his mom and mutal b'safek. Each of them can claim half, so they split it in half. Right? If he hits his father and draws blood, or he curses his father, even if he does it zach or zeh, if he does one after another, in which case he does both, right? You can't punish him for this. The punishment for this is Mises Bastin. You can't give him Mises Bastin for hitting his father or cursing his father, because it's a hasra suffix. We're not sure. When you warn him, you can't warn him. This is definitely your father. Olav mishmar zeh v'shal zeh. He goes up to the base on Mikdash to do the avoda. He's allowed to do. Ve'eno cholik. But he doesn't get any parts of the kachim or the hides. If both fathers were one mishmar, the mishmaros, 24 mishmaros, they each got 2 weeks a year approximately. So if they're both from one mishmar, so they can get one chayla because he's automatically part of that mishmar. The Gemara has a question that we'll answer in the Gemara. The Gemara says, in the case where, right, this Safek child, we don't know who he's a child of. He has brothers, paternal brothers, but not maternal brothers. So the brothers, if he dies, they dafka do chalitza and then yibam. Aval yibam reish lo dekahoy yibam l'shuk. One of them can't do yibam first because maybe she is she's supposed to do yibam chalitza. Technically, you could do yibam because it might not be, but she's zakuk to somebody else, Therefore, yibam l'shuk. So therefore, it's just her love. So therefore, you have to free her from that. And then the person can marry her because either it's yibam or you're marrying someone unrelated to you. Amar Shmuel, asara kanim omdim. You have 10 kohanim, 10 kosher kohanim, and they're standing. One of them separates from this lineup of kohanim. I don't know that they'll line up. I don't know whether they've gone to prison or something. I don't know. Interrogated. One of them goes and is together with a woman. Havlad shtuki. I don't think it means in wedlock. I mean out of wedlock. The vlad is considered shtuki. Other places shtuki means a mamzer. So the Mary asks, "My shtuki, what does it mean over here? It's not a mamzer. That we quiet him. He tries to collect from his father's Yerusha. Right? We don't know who his father is. Pshita miyadina navu amanu. Right? Every person, there's only 1 in 10 chance he's the father. There's no way he gets Yerusha. Even if it's 50% chance, we wouldn't get it. It means that we don't consider him a Kohen. My time. Meaning he's not part of a Kohen. He doesn't duchen. He doesn't get an aliyah as a Kohen. He doesn't get truma. My time. I'm a krab. Aislo zaru acharav. It says by the manas kuna should be for him. It was zaru acharav by Aaron and his zera acharav. Meaning zaru miyuchas acharav. This extra zaru acharav comes to teach you. It has to be at a descendant of a Kohen. He's the son of a Kohen. You have to know who his father is. Valeka. You don't have it. He says also acharecha over there. Hashem wants to be a God for you and your descendants after you. What is Hashem warning Abraham? When he says, he means to say, Lo tinsa avodas kucham v'shefchat l'leizel zarach basra. That obviously doesn't mean we know Abraham is the father. Just the question is, he says, don't marry. Hashem was warning him, don't marry a non-Jewish woman or a shifcha knainis, because then, right, the lineage goes after the mother. This is a problem because, I don't know, a while. I mean, I have to give 2 shiurim. So the Gemara says, don't marry an avos kama shivcha. This is problematic because we know before Matan Torah there was, it goes after the father, so I'm not really sure. Meisi ve'rishon roy lios kohen gadol. But Bryce earlier on the Masechta, right, that a Yevamos, right, she does yibum before waiting 3 months, right? So we're not sure if the child is from the first one or the second one. The Rishon Rodios Kohen Gadol, the first child could be a Kohen Gadol. That's the Mishnah says in Daf Lamed Zayin. How be in Zaram Yuchas Achar? How be in a Kohen Gadol? You don't know the father is Valeka. Zaram Yuchas Achar of the Rabbanan. My answer is that's only the Rabbanan Kras Machta Ba'alma. Pasuk Acharav is only a Smachta. If he goes to Rabbanan Biznus, Benesuin Lo goes to Rabbanan. In the case of the Yibum, she was married to the first guy, and now she's doing Yibum. That's the case of Nisu, and they weren't Gozer. She didn't do anything wrong. Here we're talking about Znus. Where it was Znus be Gozer Rabbanim Atnan. How could you say that Znus they were Gozer? Venise. She didn't wait after her husband 3 months. Venise is Vialta. Mayachar Baila. So what does it mean? She didn't wait after her husband. What case are we talking about? Either Achar Misas Baila, her husband really died. She was married, her husband died. Ema Seifa. This is our mission. Who owned in Alayim? Hey, owned in Alav. Bishlam, who owned in Alayim. There was actually the father died. The first father died. Bishlam, who owned in Alayim. That he could possibly be owning for both fathers. Mishach Slam and Stu and Deshani. Right. The second one, right, when he dies, so he's alive. The son was born before the second one died. Even though the first one, the husband died before the child was born, if you exhume his grave and you take out the bones and rebury him, so that the halachas of onain apply when you exhume the grain until he's buried again. Alahim onin olav, the father is owning olav. How is it possible that the first father, he's dead now, before the child is born? How is he going to possibly be owning for his son? Velab grusha must be talking about, our Mishnah talking about not where he died, where he was divorced. Get baila means that they got divorced and she didn't wait 3 months after the get. Ema seifa, say the seifa of our Mishnah. He can't be matamin for them, for either father. They are not matamin for him. Matamin lo l'chumra. Right? They, both fathers, can't be matamin for him. The chol chad v'chad dimalav brei was not his son, and they're both kohanim. You can't be matamin for someone not your son. Elahu matamin lahem. He can't be matame for him. Amai bishlam al sheni lo litmile. Right, the second one, he can't be matame from his father because it might not be his father. Rishon litmile manav shach. The first father, when he dies after divorce, when he dies, he could be matame from manav shach. Ibrehu shach berkamatamile. If it's a son, you're allowed to be matame for him. Maybe bar basrohu. If he's the son of the second one, shach berkamatamile the chalalhu. Right, the second father is a Kohen, and he married a Grusha. So he married a Grusha, and he's a Chalal. There's no Kedushas Kuna, so there's no Isser to be Matame for him. Allah Biznus. It must be our mission to talk about Biznus. So Mayach or Bailach or Bola. Not Achar Baila. She went after the Baila. It wasn't her husband, it was her Bola. Right? She was Boel, she was Mizana with somebody, and then she went again and had a child with another person. But yet, the end of our Mishnah says that this Safek Kohen, after his nus, he can do avoda. So we treat him like a Kohen. So even though it's not miyuchas acharav, right? We still let him do avoda. You have to the shmuel. Even by his nus, we're not gozer. Amarav shmaya b'ma'enes. No, our Mishnah is talking about a b'ma'enes. She refuses a marriage. So the Gemara says, originally we think a b'ma'enes is talking about a girl who gets married by her brother or mother, midrabanan, and she's not of age yet, and then she's mine before she comes to adult. Mika yalda, could she have a child? Is it possible Mishnah is talking about that? A child, Rav Bibi, Kamed Rav Nachman, Shalosh Nashim Misham Shos B'moch. 3 women, when they have Tashmish Amita, they can use a moch, a sponge, condom, I'm not sure. Ktana Muberes Aminika. A ktana, a young girl, a Muberes, someone who's pregnant, Aminika, she's nursing. Tana Shemet is Aber Thomas. If she's a ktana, she becomes pregnant, she'll die from the pregnancy. If she's already pregnant, she might become pregnant again, and that will harm the fetus. If she's nursing, so when a woman's nursing and she becomes pregnant, so the milk becomes less. Her son that she's nursing can die. What is the consideration of a ktana? The Ketana we're talking about is from 11 in 1 day till 12 in 1 day. So she's going to have a mitzvah. Meir would agree that if she's older than that or younger than that, she could, because she's not become pregnant. Younger than 11, not become pregnant. This is the Chama arguing around Meir, and says even in these Ketana, Muberes, and Menika, she should be Meshamish Gedarka, shouldn't use the moch, shouldn't use the condom. Meshamayim, they'll have mercy. Shenemar, that these terrible things shouldn't happen. Hashem watches the fools. Mishkachasla, so the Gemara says, no, we're not talking about a ktana. And therefore, if she's a ktana, right, so between 11 and 12, she's going to die from childbirth. And between under 11, she can't become pregnant. So how is it possible? It must be she's a gdola. There's no ma'anes. Mishkachasla b'gedushay tos. No, ma'anes is not talking about a ktana. It's talking about a regular older woman. She gets married and she makes a t'nai in her kedushin. Talks about a sota, right? If she wasn't nitbasa, she wasn't forced, she's asura. If she commits adultery on purpose, right, she becomes asura husband. Hanitbasa, if she was forced, she was nensa. Muteris, she's muter to her husband. It comes to include the pasuk. Even a different woman, when she's not nitbasa, I mean, she did it willingly, she's muteris. She's muteris to her husband. Where she originally wasn't married, right? She committed adultery after he married to somebody else, and then it was discovered that her kedushin, the first one, was the kedushay tos, was based on a stipulation. The stipulation didn't come true. Even she had a child from the first one, and then they realized the kedushin was done on condition that he's an usher. It turns out he has no money in his bank account. Still, the kedushay tos, she has a son. Still, the kedushin invalidates the whole marriage, and it wasn't considered adultery. That's the case we're talking about over here. That will answer all the questions. Shmuel says the Mishnah is talking menes. Hope you enjoyed today's shir. Stay tuned. Coming up for Ian of Ben Sion, we're going to discuss more about Truma. See you in the next one.